Why, hello there, and welcome to Wicked Curious Radio. I am your mystery maven, Roxie Zwicker from New England Curiosities, here with a show about the macabre, the strange, the unusual, the mysterious, the spooky. And I'm accompanied by the amazing Ken.
Greetings.
Greetings.
And salutations.
And salutations. You're doing both today.
I'm doing
Greetings,
both today.
Salutations.
Sending regards even.
Excellent. And that is Lou on the other side of the board.
Yes.
Who makes many magical things happen.
Oh, yeah.
Conjures
The
many
conjurer,
things.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Conjure many things.
Making it happen.
Making it happen.
The show has slanted towards the macabre. It's been more macabre
More macabre.
of the last few weeks.
Possibly.
If I can,
Well, she does
if I
like...
can mutilate that word.
You can mutilate, and macabre is things that are mutilated
Yeah.
too, so it works in both senses.
Roxy does prefer the macabre.
I do prefer the macabre, which not everybody prefers the macabre, but we have
it's
to
what
be
you
out
do.
there. It is. we have to represent the macabre.
Bringing it back.
That's right.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi,
Good
Sarah.
afternoon.
So
First one in.
First one in. So, of course, if you are just tuning in to us for the first time, you can find out more about New England Curiosities on our website, which is newenglandcuriosities.com. And you'll find a variety of tours, events, and classes happening on there. And this week we have a couple of really big events happening. In particular, tonight we're at the Wyndham Restaurant doing Dining with the Dead with New England Ghost Project. So that will be in just a matter of hours. And we'll be talking about those who are accused of witchcraft outside of Salem, Massachusetts.
It happened.
It did happen. It did. And sort of the ghost stories and folklore that were left in their wake. So I like to delve into a lot of the lesser known stories. This gives us a nice opportunity to do that. Although we were in Salem, Massachusetts yesterday, and we do have some reflections on that, which we'll get to a little bit later.
Witches of Salem were the Russians of their time, huh?
Yeah, it seems to
It's
be.
the Russians. It was the witches.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, there's always someone to blame. It
Yeah.
was, it
Yeah.
was this group, it was that group,
Right.
it was this supposed group.
That's true. If you're interested in getting tickets for tonight's events, tonight at the Wyndham, you can go to New England Ghost Project's website, which is the letter N, the letter E, ghostproject.com. And then on Friday night of this week, we are doing a rare investigation of the South Meeting House, quite historic, going back to the 19th century, in Portsmouth's South End. And you can find information there on newenglandcuriosities.com. I think we have a handful of tickets left, so you can check that out. It's a really fun evening where we cover the history of the South End neighborhood, which, if you are unaware, used to be our red light district in the city, and the many things that have gone on in the South Meeting House. You'll get to walk up and check out the clock tower and kind of dive into what it's like to be in an old historic building in Portsmouth that have lots and lots of different ghost stories, and lots of takes on that as well.
Peer into all the nooks and crannies and corners of this building.
And one of the best views of the city of Portsmouth, which you can again see from up in the clock tower. And the clock tower itself, dare we say, is quite amazing because it still has its original 19th century clockworks up there, and the clock has to be wound by hand, and it's just it's a very incredible thing to see. It's kind of a rarity. The clockworks are actually made in Waltham, Massachusetts.
It's a nice piece of history in its own right.
It is. It's just fabulous to even get up there and check it out. And we'll have snacks and other things for you to check out while you're there. And we did this last November, and it was really fun. So we're expecting another exciting night.
It'll be a good time.
It will be a good time. God, there's so many things to talk about. The Russians are a true danger as opposed to witches. Nice, nice.
We're back to Russians again.
We are.
They came and went, now they're back.
Indeed. So, hello to everybody that's in the Facebook chat. We just got back from a variety of burial grounds. We did more burial grounds over this past weekend than we actually did cemeteries. So the distinction of burial grounds is that they're more colonial, largely more 1700s era, because we are trying to wrap up our last few photos for, of course, the Memento Mori Oracle, which is my new divination deck that will be coming to Kickstarter on May 1st. So it was
It's shaping up nicely.
It is shaping up really
Oh,
nicely.
yeah.
So we'll be posting information on that as it goes. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter on our website if you want the inside scoop and some early images on the deck. And the deck does feature New England's oldest and most notable graveyards and a lot of the stories behind the monuments, the carvings, the symbolism, and then to be able to use that as a deck to derive meanings, inspiration, and to do readings with. So I'm super excited.
You need
about
more
that.
images. Are you expanding the deck?
I need more images. Well,
Oh,
no,
you-
there
you-
were. So I had
Going for that 85 as opposed to the 58?
we could.
Yeah.
It's so hard too because we were walking around the burial grounds and I'm like, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one. That's a good one. And then it's like, how do you choose?
right.
So yeah, it would be great if I did add additional cards to it. But we had to go and reshoot a few images of stones, and then there was one in particular that we made a long trek for that I had to have.
Pilgrimage, if you
Yeah,
will.
it was the type of thing that I don't care how long it's taking us to get there. If I just get that one gravestone, that's really all I care about.
Yep.
And of course, there's you get there and there's all kinds of bonus,
Yeah.
other images and things you don't know. So we spent much of the weekend doing.
Well, yeah,
that.
there were some certain go-to must-have images that
Yeah.
we either didn't have a clear enough shot of, or maybe get a better shot of.
Yep.
So
You went for that one marker, but the journey is often the fun, right?
Oh, it always
there,
is.
yeah.
Definitely.
It always is.
Yeah.
And we did. If you saw us out there in these burial grounds, so we went out.
you couldn't miss us this weekend.
No, you couldn't miss us. We did something very different. We were out more like Pepperell, Bolton area of kind of central Massachusetts.
Saturday, yep.
And then on Sunday we spent a good portion in Newburyport and Salem. However, we don't have a lot of time when we get to the cemeteries when we're on a mission like to get this stuff done.
Right.
So we have to work with where the sun is, and because people in New England are buried east to west, sometimes when we get there, the sun is just in the wrong place, and it can be a challenge.
It's happened a lot over the
Heading
years.
east.
Yeah.
Heading east, feet in the west?
Feet in the west, yeah. So,
And I'm guessing with these burial grounds and older cemeteries, a lot of the light, I mean, there's trees
Oh,
that weren't there,
right. Oh, God.
Big trees.
Yeah. Yeah, huge trees.
or that weren't grown.
Or tree stumps, or who knows what sort of obstacle is
Yep.
there. So I had read a few years ago through the Association of Gravestone Studies that when they were going out and documenting gravestones, back in the 60s and stuff, they would bring out these white pieces of cardboard to put behind the gravestone, but they were also bringing mirrors. And mirrors would reflect the sunlight onto the gravestone so you could see the depths of the carving and get
Yeah.
the good contrast. So what do you think that meant for us?
You grabbed a mirror.
Yeah, we
big
grabbed
one.
a 4-foot mirror we took with us to the burial grounds, and people were stopping us saying, so what are you doing with
What do you do with that mirror?
Yeah.
I mean, we're, particularly in Salem, we had the mirror.
And it's 2020. There's lighting, too.
I know.
Probably a little easier to work with.
I don't,
Yeah.
but there is something nice.
More expensive for sure.
Oh, yes, no,
Yeah, true.
it is more expensive, but using the mirror,
Especially
we got,
because you thrift shop like I do.
I do,
Yeah.
I do. That's a whole other
Yeah.
animal.
May have hit a thrift store.
Yeah, we may have done that too, but our focus was on the cemetery. So keeping that in mind, when we were using the mirrors, it actually revealed portions of the gravestone that you couldn't even really see, even if it was in the light, because you could see all the finite carving and all of the details, like if they had made a mistake or where they were doing their tracing.
Interesting, yeah.
Well, it brings out the detail when it's like recessed or when it's raised. The shadow catches it really nicely.
Mm-hmm. And it's a nice warm light, so it's not like an artificial
Right.
LED light because it's reflecting the sunlight. So,
So it wasn't like natural sunlight. We just reflected it.
so we
Which
dragged
came
the
in
mirror
handy.
around. It did. So that way we didn't have to wait for the sun to move or try to get in the right angle or get a crappy picture of a gravestone.
Because there were stones that were completely in shadow, facing away from the sun. You couldn't get a good shot
Yeah.
of it on its own.
Or in the bushes.
And the mirror just reflect the light right back onto it, and it's like daylight right on it.
I mean, it definitely it takes a minute. It took a minute when we were trying to, Ken was trying to catch the light in the mirror and flash it on the gravestone.
Yep.
Because you have to get at the right angle or it's too washed out
Right.
or what have you. So we managed to. Some of them it was a little bit more challenging because the gravestones were so big.
Oh yeah, like when we were in the trees, you had to stand in the right spot to catch that ray of light coming through the branches, or else you couldn't do it.
And then I kept
And it
standing
worked.
in the light. Ken kept saying you're casting a shadow.
You're in the shadow again.
And I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, I know. I'm just trying
There's
to
the
get close
hand
to
with the camera.
Yeah.
So,
Stand back.
yeah, we probably got, I don't know. I mean,
whole
last
bunch.
count, I probably got 250 pictures, of which I really, because I just can't walk by a gravestone and not
Yeah.
take a
So there you
picture.
go. It's a 500 card deck. Now.
Yeah,
You
no,
heard it
no,
first.
no.
535,
No.
85, 58.
No, there were some great ones because we went to Old Hill in Newburyport because there were a couple specific
I
ones
love
that I
standing
wanted
on
to
that
get.
hill. It's
Yeah.
so nice up there.
It's kind of dangerous though.
It is.
It's kind of dangerous.
Can be,
You
yeah.
know, just tread lightly.
Well, no, you tread lightly, but it's just like it's really steep
I
and
love
there's
it.
gopher holes and it's kind of crazy.
That was mountain
All
goating
kinds of
myself
holes up there, yeah.
I was Billy goating myself up and down there.
Yeah, I was too. I was doing it with you. So we found some that we had not seen because again, it's one of those burial grounds like Mount Arbor, and you go through, you
Yeah.
spend the whole day, and you're like you missed a whole section. And we were up in the bushes. It was really dark, and I actually had posted a picture on our Facebook page from Wing Curiosities, and there's just some beautiful Romanesque portrait stones from the 1700s of women up there with their hair with ribbons in it, and just
Yeah.
absolutely statuesque. And I was like, how do we miss these? So my tip for you is really leave no stone unturned. Like really take a look at some of these. And then we were in Salem, and we were in Salem. The gravestones at the Charter Street Burial Ground, which is their oldest, are, you can tell like they've been moved around and they're pointing in different directions. And there was one, and I mean Ken's from Salem, and we've
Right.
been there a million times, and we missed this one. I think it's like, I don't know, 1690
It was
something.
16, yep.
And it has Father Time with an hourglass on his head.
Oh, wow.
And it was
And
it
death
was,
on the other
yeah, and
side.
death and the skeleton on the other side, but we totally missed it.
Almost.
Because it was behind us and up against another gravestone,
And it was in the shade.
Oh.
and the
yeah.
light was not on it at all, so it
Yep.
looked like it might have been the back of a stone that was there.
But the mirror saved the day.
So we had to use the mirror and point it to the west, and we were able to hit the light. But it's amazing. You go back to these burial grounds that you feel like
Yep.
and you're like, wait a minute, how did I miss that
Yeah,
one?
you can't take it all in at once. So you always you're bound to miss something, and you go back and it's like new again.
Because there's so much there to distract your attention, too. I mean,
Oh yeah,
you
Or
you
if
see
you're
one, and then you look around and go, oh, I got to go see that one, and you walk by 3 of them.
Exactly.
That's
you walk
exactly
by,
what
like,
happens.
maybe the,
Yeah.
the most unique one in the whole cemetery. You could walk right by
The
it.
history, just the dates. I mean, you see, like in Old Hill, you see someone who was born in 1777. It's like, one of the first babies born in the United States or in an independent country. And you just, you take the dates and you put the history around it. And you just wonder what life was like for them.
oh
And
yeah,
imagine the context of the time that they were born or
Yeah.
died in. It's like, wow.
Yep.
yeah.
Just think about it.
There was one that I had posted on my Instagram last night when we got home from Salem, and the epitaph simply reads that they had seen 19 winters, and they
They counted the winters, yeah.
and they died in 1688.
Wow. Wow.
16.
Doesn't that like blow your
88.
mind?
It does. Yeah.
I'm like, oh
What
my
was the
god.
winter like in
I know.
1688? Yeah.
Seriously.
Probably not comfortable.
No,
No.
I'm sure. So
Wow.
it was really cool though. I don't know which one do you want to start with?
So they were here in 1668.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the Pilgrims landed in 1620, and then they all
Yeah.
started coming in 23 in Portsmouth, 1623,
Yeah.
1626 Salem, just for a couple examples.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the oldest one I saw in Salem, and I'm sure there's
Boston was right around there, too.
yeah, was 1670 something was the oldest one that I saw. in
Amazing.
Salem.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll start with Salem since we've been talking about Salem.
Yeah, we were there.
So
We'll start with the last
so
one first.
so
pretty much.
let me explain why I do my talks and my tours the way I do. So
We love cemeteries, by the way.
we well clearly
No, don't need
Yeah.
a big excuse to
no,
chop
we don't
around
need a
through.
big excuse. So it's my passion to talk about New England history, and sometimes I take for granted that not everybody knows some of the basics.
Yep.
So we walk
You'd be surprised.
I would
into
imagine, yeah.
Charter
Or maybe
Street
not surprised.
Cemetery, which is one of the oldest in the country. It goes back to like 1635. It's one of the first places, and we're not even in there a minute. We're not
We're in
even
there like 30 seconds.
And after that first minute passed, I was on a rant for 20 minutes when I heard someone walking
Oh yeah,
around.
this just
Go ahead. You
set her off.
can. I can't even bring myself to say what this person said. In the
So this
cemetery.
group comes walking in. Obviously, this guy's visiting people in town,
Yep.
and he turns to his friend and goes, "So this is all the witches in here? This one's all witches?" And the guy's like, "No.
It says this is where they buried all the witches in here.
Yeah,
Just don't have a grasp on it. Yeah.
like no, this isn't the witch cemetery, and there isn't one in there."
I'm like, how?
Take me to the witch cemetery.
How do you? What?
Where
How do you even put those words together in a sentence?
Yeah.
And she's like, "What? This guy just asked. Is this where all the witches are buried?" Is
Yeah.
How do you not? And he wasn't like, he was like our age, probably at least 40s.
Yeah.
How do you not? I mean, in school they taught us, back in 70 whatever, taught us about it.
I mean, even in California, they learn this stuff. I think. I mean,
do.
we learn about it more closely here.
Right.
Well,
well,
you learn
yeah.
an overview.
we have
but-
an
Yeah.
intimate history with it, but I mean, oh my gosh,
Growing up in Salem, it was part of our curriculum.
right?
I would imagine, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how you not know that, but
We were just blown away. We're like, did we just hear him ask that question? So this is all witches in here?
yeah, okay,
Like, no.
okay.
What you were thinking?
No, I don't know. So
Trivia question. How many witches were hanged in Salem?
oh God, yeah, no, burned at the stake, Ken. Remember?
Yeah, burned at the stake,
They're all
right.
burned in
Yeah.
Salem.
Either way, the answer is 0. They were all
Lord,
innocent.
Exactly. Oh my God. So that took me a minute.
I was going to express my impression, but now I'm a little scared to do it.
No, it's okay.
They were pressed, weren't they? They're often pressed, weren't they?
Giles Corey was pressed
Yeah.
to death. Yeah.
Yep, he was part of the memorial
Yeah,
too.
he was. Yeah, well, yeah, we haven't gotten
Yeah.
to the memorial part yet because we were just in the cemetery part.
Yeah, we're just
The
walking
burial
around.
ground
It was a little muddy, but no snow.
Oh no, it was great. It was beautiful. So there was this amazing tree that we had noticed. We probably easily 250 years old, and it had eaten a gravestone. We were standing there
Several.
looking at.
Had eaten a gravestone.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
absorbed in the trunk.
Yeah, you could
Yeah, the
see
roots.
a piece of it in the roots of the tree. So we were admiring this tree. The whole back of it was sheared off. It was some form of oak tree, and you.
Yeah, like the whole side of it was like wide open.
Yeah, it was
You
it
could
was incredible. And the knot of the tree, you could look right through and see daylight. So you could see through half of the tree.
Yeah, well,
And we were standing there and taking some pictures just of the tree itself. And this woman comes up
With a little group,
with a little girl. I don't know. We're always in always in that place.
giving her own little tour.
Yeah, and she's like, do you mind if I tell you a story about this tree?
oh, really? Yeah.
Like, well, okay.
And I'm like, all right, sure, we'll see it here. And so she calls
She
her.
had no idea who she was talking to.
Right.
Yeah.
So she calls her the few other people over, and she was talking about how the tree had been hit by lightning several times, which you could clearly see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
because
could
it
see
had,
it was just
you know,
blown up and-
splintered, but it was still alive,
Yep.
and it was still growing. So she went to the trouble to tell us that the guy that was buried underneath the tree, which she didn't have his name, but we'll just take it for what it is,
Yep.
that he was killed being struck by lightning.
Oh,
And the tree that they put on his grave has been struck by lightning a whole bunch of times.
wow.
So yeah, even in death, he couldn't get
Even
away from
in
this
death.
lightning.
Wow.
Yes.
This is like the Eeyore of the 1600s right here.
So his fate was tied to lightning. Like one way or another, the lightning was looking for him.
In
Wow.
life and the afterlife.
Yeah, and in the afterlife. So it was kind of
Too much iron in the diet.
Something for
Apparently,
sure,
yeah.
yeah.
something to attract. Well, I don't know. Would they have considered that to be God's wrath? back in there.
Yeah, he'd
Probably.
done something.
Yeah, that
Oh,
he,
yeah.
had,
Yep.
he had brought it about himself.
If I'm lying, may God strike me dead.
I
Kaboom! Whoops. And now that tree too. Well, it's gonna hit your grave again.
and the tree was enormous.
Yeah.
So we had taken a couple of pictures.
You and the tree you buried under.
Damn you and the tree you're buried under.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, so bad. So some of the pictures that we had taken, and I've yet to go
See,
through.
I want someone standing over. I'm not going to be in
yeah.
a grave, but I want someone standing. I would like someone standing over my grave making jokes 400 years from now. That would
You
be
would,
cool.
yeah.
Why not?
It's a legacy.
And
Right?
Definitely.
What do you think they're going to be joking about?
Oh God, who knows? I could,
Just pick anything.
it could be 100 things.
So see, he's like
Yeah.
famous for other reasons that weren't witchcraft. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just think it's great. We're sitting here chuckling over this guy.
Yeah, but 400 years
400
later.
years
4
later.
years later,
Yeah.
I know. And the tree is still there.
Yeah. So was he under it?
Well, yeah, in some manner. I wonder if if it reached down to like the electricity reached down to him because it went down through the roots. I mean,
I would admit, yeah.
The roots
who
are through
knows?
everything.
Who knows?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's all good. So some of the pictures that we had taken, I mean, we haven't gone through them all yet. Actually, where the tree is split from the strike, it looks like the shape of someone standing there in a cloak. It's just got this really
Oh,
cool.
It does. It
Interesting.
looks like this.
Yeah, like
Cloaked figure.
Yeah, shadowy figure in it. So it's it's probably just optical illusion, but it's really kind of cool. So
Pretty
I've got
cool all around.
yeah, I've got to go through some of the pictures to really sort them out and get them posted. So that was really cool. Taking a look at that and walking around and looking at. I mean, we were looking at stones that were largely 1600s.
Lots of them in Salem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mostly 1600s. And there was one in particular that we were looking for. We were looking for one that had a really nice heart on it. I've got a few stones, but not one that really hit me. And we found one. It actually had 3 hearts on it, even though it had been broken. And it's huge. It's a
That's big.
giant stone. 1600s for 3 children. And when I got home, I researched the family and found that, back in the 1600s, you didn't put hearts on gravestones. It was just
No.
it was thought that you would put more symbolism for death in the afterlife and all of that.
Right.
And in reading about this family, that they were so heartbroken over the loss of their 3 children that they went against what would have been accepted at the time and put 3 large hearts, one around the names of each of their deceased children.
Wow.
So that's one that we're going to be using in the deck also, just because it has that great story behind
It's a
it.
definite rarity.
And this was Puritan religious stuff that they had to go against.
Mm-hmm.
They had to have some pretty strong convictions and probably suffered because of it.
Yeah,
I would
it wasn't-
Oh,
imagine.
I'm sure.
It wasn't wise to divide the church.
Right.
No, and one of the other things when we had come back from Central Mass on Saturday, went back and did some research on some of the stones out there, and it's really fascinating to look at what people did sometimes when they got the stone from the carver. If they didn't agree with some of the iconography that was on it, that they would actually have it carved out
Oh, really?
to go with more of what they believed. And it's funny, I thought that over time, some of the gravestones that we had seen that had carvings over carvings, I thought that those were a mistake, but in many cases they'd actually carve it out so the image would no longer be on the stone. And they had some very in the book that I was using called Graven Images as my reference, they had some very specific ones in Boston where they carved out the images because they didn't agree with what was on the gravestone, but they still used the gravestone itself.
How did this happen? I would assume most gravestones were done by neighbors, people in town, or did people get gravestones done from out of town?
From all over. I mean, we saw Saturday when we were in Central Mass, we saw gravestones from Connecticut in a Central Mass cemetery.
Yeah.
Because they either had family or they had shipped it up. In New York, we've got a couple in the Old York Burying Ground that specifically come from Connecticut. They've researched it. It's red sandstone. It's very peculiar type of artwork on there. So you kind of have a various source for where they've come from. But
That was
who
the
knows?
shipping on a gravestone in 1700.
Well, it'd be used as a ballast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. True.
Still probably wasn't cheap.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure it still wasn't too cheap. We saw
And I'm
one-
guessing some
saw-
of the stone might have been status related.
Oh, absolutely.
I would imagine, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or a connection to where you came from, your home, where you came from. in
Oh,
Connecticut,
interesting
for
point.
instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw one. It actually was carved, and God, it was like 1700s. That it cost $8 in the 1700s.
Yeah.
The price was actually carved on the bottom of the stone. It had raised out of the ground. You can see the price on it.
Interesting. Yeah.
So can you imagine? I mean,
$8.
You know, $8 in the 1700s. You know, it was,
It was probably like $800.
yeah,
then.
it was probably super.
when you could
expensive.
buy things for half pennies.
Right,
back
you know,
then.
8 pennies. 8 pennies. So, yeah, it was really, I don't know, it's kind of a strange notion to think that they were recarving gravestones based on what they believed. Instead of just getting another stone, they would change the images that were on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
$8 in 1700 would be $6,100 today.
Oh, wow, I was a little
Yeah.
off. Wow.
Really?
Well, according to the U.S. inflation rate.
Can you
roughly.
imagine?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's a commitment right there. How,
Yeah.
Well, so you can clearly see why so many people did not get gravestones back in the day.
And that's why you do see the home jobs where, the father or the brother or someone carved it out.
Right, or they
themselves.
scratched it on a rock.
Exactly.
Isn't that funny? Wow.
So the professional stone carvers were paid pretty well then.
Well, I mean, that's what makes the ones that are so huge just incredible with, all the just lengthy wording that's on there, having to pay for that by the letter.
Some of them have like a page and a half worth of
Yeah.
text on there.
Oh, yeah.
And I can imagine these towns, as we've talked about, there are always these founding families, these big families, patriarchal families in the towns. They must have been very competitive about their gravestones, I would imagine.
Well, it's funny. We were in Hollis, New Hampshire, and it was all super snowy there. And as we were trudging through the snow, we found the first 2 gravestones for the founding family of Hollis. And they were gorgeous, absolutely
course.
gorgeous.
The founding family.
Yeah, the founding. So they were the first family to settle, husband and then wife, married to this part of blah 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 of
Fascinating,
Hollis.
yeah.
And that was early 1700s. And beautiful, just the detail on there was absolutely gorgeous. So
Yeah.
they're out there too, which is pretty cool.
Of course, the pastors of the and the deacons of the congregations had some of the nicest stones.
Yeah, they
usually.
always
they always
have.
did.
Some of the most impressive.
I
They
would
were
imagine, yeah.
esteemed above the community.
And sometimes their table stones would actually be raised above them if they're
Right.
buried with a table stone.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
To,
Yeah, when you see-
to symbolize them being raised above the community, having a higher status, as it were.
Yeah, you'll see them on legs, 4, 6 legs, like
Yeah.
a table.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really something to get such a reflection on the community that's there. So we were in Newburyport for a while. We had gone to Newburyport
A
first
great day for
yesterday.
it.
And it was so cool because we got out of the car and looked at the bricks in the cobblestone sidewalk, and they had like stars and numbers from the foundry in which they were made,
Yeah.
and they're all right there in the sidewalk, which, I mean, that in and of itself is just so cool.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
can
that's
tell
history
that
right
they're,
there.
Yeah.
they're 200-year-old bricks in the sidewalk
I know,
with
can
the
you imagine?
information right on it.
Yeah.
So cool. But yeah, we went up to the little church there and
Yeah.
checked that out, which was
The
pretty
Episcopal
neat.
Church, yeah, the brick sidewalk right around there was even amazing.
And the back of one of the gravestones there said that it was a replacement, and the original stone was it the Museum
of Fine Art
in Boston.
Really?
Yep. So the
Interesting.
back of the bottom of the stone, and they replaced it. God, it's got to be.
It's like a 100-year-old replacement.
Yeah, it's got to be from
if not
100
more.
years ago, and
Wow.
it's got the fellow, and he's got the walking stick and
And the long coat.
the long coat with the buttons and the hat, and I mean, even that carving was 100 years old.
Yeah,
So they
that
made
was-
an
that was
exact
fading.
replica of it. So cool. It said
And
right
they
on the back of
Put
it.
the original in the museum just to preserve it as a piece of history.
So imagine.
Probably by the family or something, right?
Oh, could be.
I think I asked you before, but I forget the answer, so I'll ask you again, because there are several gravestones in Old Hill that the person is identified as a consort. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's a consort?
As opposed to relics.
So that was
A relic. That's another one. Yeah.
So they actually go hand in hand. So a consort means the wife died first, and the relic means that the husband died first.
Oh, really?
So like
she
the
remained.
leftover, she remained.
So that was
She's
the
the relic.
widower
yes,
relic
type of
exactly.
designation. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's
So the relic, the husband died first.
Yes.
The wife's a relic. Mm-hmm. And is the wife the consort if she died first?
Yes.
yes,
Yeah, so it's always the female designation,
yes, yes.
depending on when she died relative to the spouse.
Correct.
I see. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Amicable consort of so and so.
Relic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You old relic.
Well, it was,
She was left behind.
one of the last gravestones as we were and we didn't have time to walk the entire burial ground. We were there for like 2 hours. One of the last stones I saw on Burial Hill, it was like, I don't know, like 1750, 1760. And the woman was 98 years old.
Wow.
Wouldn't you just want to just
She
sit down?
she died in
and talk to-
1760?
Yeah.
At 90?
Yeah.
98.
Oh, my God.
Almost 100 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I would have.
So she was born in the 1660s.
Yeah, I would have loved to
Yeah.
have talked to this woman.
Can you
Oh my
imagine?
God. Oh my God, the stories.
She
and what
beat
she
the
had
odds,
seen.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think.
Well, yeah, clearly she beat the odds.
So did she come over? Or was she born in the
I
United
don't
lived
know.
98 years here in America? or-
It didn't say.
yeah.
No, there was.
Sometimes
She must
they
have
do.
came over. Must have.
I would assume
Yeah.
maybe.
So think of her journey in her life.
I know.
Getting on a boat as a child or maybe a young adult and crossing the sea.
Yeah, 98. I was like, hold on, and we had
Yeah.
to get a good look at that one.
Or
A good picture of
or
it.
there were those that were born here. They lived through the witch hysteria and everything.
Oh right.
Yeah. And this is the thing about our towns, and we've talked about this a lot, where you can stand there and it's not just reading in a book, it's not hearing a story. It's like you're standing in front of this woman's grave. You're standing, and there are buildings and houses in town she saw.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. It's really crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was one that totally stopped me right in my tracks.
I mean, these are
All the way up
lives
there.
lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. I mean, most of the people were looking at, I'd say probably average age 30 to 40,
Yep.
that was life expectancy,
Yep.
back then.
But again, you see a lot of people who are in their 20s, 30s during the American Revolution. It's
Oh,
like,
sure.
what did they see? What did they experience?
Right.
But 98,
They were when Washington, came to town in his first term.
yep.
Imagine what it was like in Newburyport and
Oh, God, I can't even imagine.
Washington's visit in his first
It
term.
must have been something incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We went up to Portsmouth afterwards.
Yep.
yeah, it's hard to even fathom. Fathom.
And again, you get these, the more you delve into it, and I remember telling you about seeing the Pompeii exhibit, and it's like they had things like they had colanders.
Oh, I know.
And, this is ancient Rome, right? And you always get the constant impression that it's so different than it is now, but it's so the same,
Yep.
They had colanders. They were straining things.
Yeah, some things
They were
were-
pretty. They weren't like stone colanders. They were nicely crafted metal colanders.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Some things haven't changed. It's interesting. Some things can't change, I guess.
Yeah, and you walk by houses, in Newburyport and in Portsmouth too. It's like, they were living in this house during the American Revolution.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I-
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Well, even in Salem, we went by the Pickering House was 1660.
Yeah,
So we did some
Yeah.
house watching too. And,
Yeah, I was going to talk about that after
Oh,
the break.
definitely.
Yeah.
So more to come.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and you are listening to Weird Curious Radio. We'll be right back.
For the best in curious entertainment, you have to check out New England Curiosities, located in the historic city of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. New England Curiosities offers tales and tours of folklore, ghosts, and mysterious history, with author and historian Roxie Zwicker, New Hampshire's longest-running and original ghost tour. Roxie has been entertaining the locals, visitors from away, and curious souls since 1994. New England Curiosities has been offering tours and special haunted events since 2002. Highly respected and thoroughly truly entertaining. You'll be talking about your experience for months to come. Discover why New England Curiosities is consistently on top of travel and tourism lists. Yankee Magazine calls the Shadows and Stones Graveyard Tour one of New England's top 5 cemetery tours. The Boston Globe says an experience with New England Curiosities is one of the 3 best alternatives to visiting Salem, Massachusetts. From scenic trolley rides to walking tours and speaking engagements, there's something for everyone. So join New England Curiosities and experience why they are consistently featured in the media, including television appearances on the History Channel and the Travel Channel. Check out the latest legendary tours and events from New England Curiosities at newenglandcuriosities.com. And be sure to like New England Curiosities on Facebook.
Greetings to you, traveler. My name is Roxie Zwicker, and you may have heard of me being referred to as Maine's Mystery Maven, or even New England's Scary Godmother. Creativity and curiosity are in my blood, always has been and is a way of life, and I really want to share my creative projects with you. Just under 20 years ago, I began New England Curiosities, a tour and event company based in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and it's given me the opportunity to connect with so many people. And for the past 15 years, I've been serving the seacoast of New Hampshire as a metaphysical instructor and reader. 2 of the things on my path that I've committed to are helping to empower spiritual seekers and to share stories from and with curious folks. I know that community is powerful and we can create so much together. One of my projects is Wicked Curious Radio, a radio show that asks, "You are wicked curious, aren't you?" And also The Woodland Alchemy, which is a film that brings its viewers to a place of imagination, the unknown, and the mysterious. If you would like to help keep these projects afloat and keep us moving forward, you can check us out on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/Roxie Zwicker, you can find all of the magical things that we are doing. You can check out all the different levels of subscription and join us on our journey. So again, it's patreon.com/Roxie Zwicker, ROXIEZWICKER. And we thank you so much for joining our curious journey.
Welcome back to Wiki Curious Radio. I am your Mystery Maven, Roxie Zwicker from New England Curiosities. You are finding us on Facebook Live, 102.9 FM HD2, anytalks.net. And if you're listening to us in podcast form on iTunes, Buzzsprout, SoundCloud, any of those platforms, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. So that way you don't miss an episode. And of course, we always are interested in your suggestions too for things that you'd like us to talk about. So you can go ahead and pop those into our Facebook Live chat, or you can always send us an email through our website at knowingcuriosities.com. So a really quick announcement to make. I haven't announced it yet on Facebook yet. Over, oh God, all the days seem to run together. I think it was over the weekend, Friday, somewhere in there. I received my welcome to present something a little bit, I would say probably the furthest we've gone with any of our work. I will be presenting about tarot and tarot for magic and tarot for empowerment at StarCon, which is the Southeastern Tarot Conference, which is in Palm Beach, Florida next January.
Oh, nice.
So it's,
well, nicely located in time.
I was going to say it's January.
Yeah.
It's after the holidays. It's the 3rd week of January. So twist my arm to go to Florida for a long weekend in January.
New England Curiosities in Florida. This is great.
So we're going to go down there. And if you want more information on StarCon and what I'll be presenting on, it's StarCon, but StarCon is STARCON. So there's 2 A's in that, and it's all about the metaphysical and the magical and the strange and divination. So there'll be more on that to come, but all the information is up about what I'll be doing there and who some of the other authors and artists are, and we're talking world's class people from all over the world, which is pretty amazing. So I'm really excited to meet some of the people that I have been following for years, and also to present at StarCon. So, of course, when we go, there'll always be a full report when we come back, and we will fit in some southern cemeteries while we're down there to see what we can discover.
I've got some restaurant suggestions for you down there too.
Oh,
so-
do you? Are you a regular Palm Beach
That
visitor?
area, West Palm Beach.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in that area. Yep.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll have to make
Most
note.
definitely.
Yep.
We'll have to make note. So, StarCon 2021. We'll see you there.
Here we come. Look out.
Yep, we'll see you there. So, one of the things that Ken started to allude to before we took our break was some of the architecture. So, when it was getting really dark, we had started to make our way from Newburyport to Salem, then finally out to Swampscott, because there was a certain grave that we wanted to get out in Swampscott, and then it started to get dark. So we decided to take a ride through Salem and try to find like the Portsmouth side of Salem, where
Yeah.
all the houses that were oldest were all clustered together.
Right.
And Ken seemed to have a bit of a memory of that, so you can go ahead and talk about that.
Oh, what the Pickering House was 1660, which I mean we were just talking about the age and the lives lived in these places. It's just amazing.
So is that the way it works in Salem? That all that the older houses are all clustered in one area?
Right.
Because my impression of
Sort
Salem, I
of.
mean, there's some of those. Obviously, I know that location, and there's some others. But look, Salem has been largely redone. Yeah.
Sort of. The northern area of Salem is kind of where they're kind of clustered in a small area, but
Yeah.
they're not like all over town like they are in like Newburyport.
Yeah.
And what was the reason for that?
And, the Great Salem Fire tore through and took a lot of that
Yeah.
out back in back in the when the hell was that? It was late 1800s, I forget now. But yeah, the Salem Fire took a lot of that out
Yep.
and spared this area of houses.
There's always a
you're
great fire,
talking-
isn't there, in New England?
Yes,
Every
Every
town.
town has a great fire.
I mean, you're talking
Some, a couple of them.
Federal Street, Chestnut Street, all that area.
Yeah. So a lot of the older houses were wiped out by.
Yeah,
yeah.
unfortunately. And you can see there's some great old pictures in Salem about the fire and the devastation it had. So I mean, you can see Salem's a lot of more modern construction in town and
Yeah.
everything.
But these are neighborhoods where the streets are like 4 lanes wide. There you can tell that back in their day, those were the prominent streets. The
Yeah.
space between the houses is huge. Some of them have
The main thoroughfares
properties.
and yeah.
Like Chestnut Street, I don't know the name of the street in Newburyport, but they're very similar. It's big and wide, and they get the big prominent houses on either side. So it's
Yeah, State Street and High Street and
prob-
Federal Street.
Yeah, I think it would
Yeah.
be those definitely.
And of course, these are the types of houses where, once again, and it is an open invitation. If you don't have curtains in your windows,
Yeah.
and I'm driving by,
Oh yeah.
I'm going to be looking. I'm going to be looking at your chandeliers and your fireplaces and your ceiling medallions and your
Wallpaper.
paintings and your wallpaper. I mean, they're just incredible, and the windows are huge, and the front door steps with the columns are so grand. It's just phenomenal. So we hadn't been through those neighborhoods recently
No, it'd
until
been
yesterday.
way like a long time.
Yeah, it's probably been more than 10 years. So we decided to
we
take
didn't
a ride through.
We didn't bring the binoculars this time.
No, but we did stop in front of a lot of houses.
Oh yeah.
Well, see, that's a line.
we did
It's one
stop-
thing looking in the windows.
We did stop in front of a lot.
Yeah.
If you want to see a photograph of the Pickering House, you can actually go to my Instagram page, which is Roxie ZW, and you can see I posted a few other pictures of gravestones that we saw this weekend, along with some more houses. So I usually post most of my houses on Instagram. We stopped, my God, with like every other house.
Oh well,
taking pictures
we
of.
took every little side street we could and zigged
Yeah,
and
you
zagged and
you like photographing older buildings and
I do.
architecture.
I am an architecture junkie. I
Yeah.
absolutely love architecture.
it's part of that same history. It goes hand in hand with the graveyards.
Oh, it does, because here's where the people who lived in the houses
Right.
are buried. So
Yep.
now I want to go look at their houses.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. You're a down the rabbit hole type of person.
Oh, terrible.
So when you go to one of these cemeteries and you see a gravestone that you like, can you stop there, or do you have to know something about this person?
I kind of have to know.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's something on the gravestone that intrigues me, like the manner of death, like when we were in Pepperell, there were 2 gravestones that said in the carving that they died because a cartwheel went over them.
Oh,
So it's
The wheel of a cart.
the
really?
wheel of a cart rolled over them and killed them.
That needed to be included in the gravestone?
Yeah, so well, Pepperell's very interesting, just to jump ship for a second, because the gravestones in Pepperell largely tell you how the people died.
Oh, really?
So it's really
That was
cool.
a neighborhood thing?
Well, I
Must
guess
have
it was
been a
like a
thing,
stone
yeah.
carver thing. Not Chelmsford. Claremont, New Hampshire has the same thing, where the gravestones they died with a cancer on their face, or they died from the falling of a tree.
These are
or,
out there.
Yeah.
the Pepperell had that they were stricken with the apoplexy, which was like a stroke.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you look
that was
a
on
little-
there.
How many natural causes
I know.
are there
We've seen
in cause of death?
Yeah, we've seen quite a few. So
Yeah.
when there's something on the gravestone that's intriguing like that,
Yeah.
I usually will make a note, or something with the carving like the 3 hearts, something that's I'm always looking for the most unusual.
Yeah.
To go back.
But you have to dig the story. You know,
Well, yeah.
dig
She
into the
will.
story,
Yeah. Oh, and that's part of, that's I don't know the payoff, but that's part of the fun of being able to piece it together. And then there's usually like some extraneous thing, like, oh, we stopped at that house or something, or they mentioned it at this tour that
Yeah.
we took, or
Yeah, if you
so
can
we can
find-
connect it.
The place they lived as well. That's as well as where they're buried. That's
Right.
awesome.
Do large families intrigue you? Like I was telling you, that cemetery near Old Hill has the Mosley family buried there, which was a huge family in Newburyport at the time. I'm guessing if you keep seeing the same name repeated, although that was fairly 16 and 1700s, that wasn't terribly unusual.
No, and in fact, in Pepperell, there was a grave for a woman who had died. She had 10 children, 50 grandchildren, and 60 great-grandchildren, and it was carved on the gravestone.
So when she died, she had 60 great-grandchildren. Mm-hmm. Holy
10
cow.
children and 50 grandchildren. And she was another one that was like 90,
Yeah.
and it was 1700s. And that was in Pepperell. I've got a picture of that.
But still, you got to start young to
I
get,
know.
even if you
But they
die at
did.
90. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
to have
married.
great-grandchildren.
17,
Yeah.
they were married and, having families. So, I mean, look at that one woman. You want to talk a large family.
Yeah.
I mean, she populated the entire town.
Right.
And they didn't move far.
No.
Probably didn't move terribly far.
No.
Yeah.
You kept, I can't remember the name now, but I remember I kept
That's
seeing
120
that name in
people.
there.
Yeah.
Yep, she's solely
Over the generation.
responsible
Yeah.
for
crazy.
for bringing that. Isn't that incredible?
It is.
Yeah.
And other families are doing the same thing. And
Probably was a third of the town at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember we had gone down, I think it was in Stonington, and it was a little tiny side of the road cemetery, Stonington, Connecticut. And there wasn't a lot of gravestones there, but there was another one that was very similar, where the woman had, like a dozen kids and so many grandkids and so many
Yeah.
great-grandkids. And it talked about how, she was an elder in the community, and again, huge family, and they must have done very well. Even if some of them had passed on, that's still a lot of survivors.
It's 120 people.
I know.
There's
I
no
just-
family dinners. There are, 63 great-grandchildren running around.
Where do you put them all? That whole part of town must have been like theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. When we were in Salem, we were on, was it Federal Street when we saw that house with the windows? We had to go around
Federal
the block.
Street, yes.
So there was a very odd house in Salem. So shocking.
We
a
had
lot
to,
of odd
you're like, we
houses.
got to go around and get this.
Is that where the witches are buried?
I don't like you, Lou.
Oh, yeah, that was a running gag for the rest.
You brought back that painful memory.
That was a running gag for the rest of the day, by the way. Yes.
It was awful. So we were.
Oh,
we were
let it go. Let it go.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to. I'm trying to. Just keep doing my work. I'm trying
Yeah.
to right these wrongs out there.
Infuriating.
Oh my God, so bad. So we were coming down Federal Street, and again looking at all these beautiful houses. And as we were coming up on this beautiful house, again huge windows, I said to Ken, I'm like, you got to go around the block. Like, did you see what was in those windows? So they had lights on these massive statues, And
What was it? 3, 4 different windows?
there was 3 different windows.
Statues in the window,
Statues in the windows, and
lighted statues.
they were lighted, and they had
And they weren't the Statue of Liberty.
no, and they had like flowers and swagged material
like
around them.
scenes.
They were like
in their
little
front
vignettes.
windows.
Well, they weren't little; they were vignettes.
They were full
Yeah.
size,
And you saw. I didn't see the sign, but you saw the sign.
Well, one of them had like the Archangel Michael doing, and it said "Michael saved us."
Oh, okay.
So, whatever that meant for them, that was one
so
of
were
them.
all the themes religious?
They were, and they
Yeah.
were huge. I mean, it looked like you were looking at a church. It was a private house.
They were all kind of like angelic figures.
Yeah, they were all very with
Cherub.
lights on them and lots of
Wow.
decor, and they were right there in the window, street level, for you to see. They're huge.
Yeah.
And the house was like 18
Well, that's what they were designed for. They weren't designed. They were designed to show.
It was crazy
Yeah,
though.
for sure.
It was staged for the street.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just to go by that and see that in the window
And like and no other house, just that one.
No, it was
So
odd.
it kind of stood out.
So we went around the block and slowed down and
Apparently,
grabbed
the
some pictures
historical
of it.
society isn't very strong in that neighborhood.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and that was another really cool thing that you mentioned that what I wish Portsmouth would do that Salem does is not only does it give you the date of the house and the name, but it gives you their occupation
Yeah.
on the house. So cabinet maker, shipwright, house right.
Right on the plaque on the house.
Yeah, there's a
So-
lot of that in Newburyport too.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I wish we had more of that.
And then
on
there's
the
a house that
coast.
says in 1774 nothing happened here.
Nice. That's a good one.
That's classic.
But you walk around and you see the names and you see, shipwrights or people who made ropes or whatever it was. Yeah.
Oh my God, it was.
I forget what rope makers were called, but they had some name.
Yeah, we had when we were in Marblehead, it said like Cooper.
Yeah, Cooper
Yeah.
for a barrel maker.
For barrel makers. Yeah, some really
Furniture
good
maker,
ones.
shipwrights.
Yeah, it's. I wish that they would do another level of that in
Yeah,
Portsmouth.
all around the South End. That really needs to be done.
And then
More than
we've
just the
talked
date.
about it for Yankee Homecoming. They have If This House Could Talk.
Which
and
is
everyone puts the
amazing.
history out. And it's catching on. There's a lot of communities getting into this now.
Yeah, I would love
Yeah.
to
We
see
have
that.
to
in
we have to
Portsmouth.
catch that. When is that again?
Yeah, I caught it last
During
year.
Yankee Homecoming, which is the last week of July.
Oh, we gotta go see that.
Yeah, I remember it was really hot, and I just drove from house to house, and I got out,
Yeah.
and I just took a picture of the
Well, you
house
know what?
and the sign.
Keep
they
the
had-
air conditioner going. Hop
Yeah,
back in.
it was really.
I think they had 150 some odd houses participating.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean,
They should be out all the time. I don't know why.
Yeah.
it was cool because some of them actually had like the deed to the house. Like they'd photocopy it and put it there. I remember I looked at one and it was the same house and the number of the house had changed and the street name had changed 3 times in Newburyport.
Yep.
And I was like, who
That's
would
so
have
cool.
known that? That was just so cool.
There's one down there where they tell the story of the guy who he lived in. Did he live in the house? No, he lived in town, and then he went and fought the British in the Revolutionary War, and then after the war, bought it from the British. Bought that house from the British and lived in it.
Wow.
Really?
Some British guys and lived in it or something. Yeah, so there's a whole story. He was a I forget what his rank was, but he had some rank. Fought at Bunker Hill, that type of thing. It's like,
that's
oh my God,
awesome.
yeah.
Then bought the house from the British people that lived
Yeah.
there. That's awesome.
It's by the way, get out of my country, and
That's it. They were
I'm
leaving,
buying your house.
Yeah, get out of this house.
They were leaving anyway.
They
Oh
were.
my God. That's very cool. Yeah, it's so many of these. I
But
mean,
the guy lived before the Revolution, lived after the Revolution, bought the house from the British, fought at Bunker Hill. I mean, God, a block away from a church with a Paul Revere bell in it, and it's like, God, just
I know. It's right there in our
I mean, that's-
backyard.
the house is right there. You can lean on the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible.
It's an interesting life right there too.
Oh, it is. So if you are going to Salem and you're looking for a slice of their oldest houses, Chestnut Street, Federal Street, and
Yeah.
really you can just park and walk around.
And all the surrounding streets in between.
Yeah, there's some great little connecting.
Have they
side
been
streets.
preserved? Do you get that feeling of
Oh God.
of the era?
Oh, yes. Oh my God. There wasn't. I mean, honestly, there really wasn't a bad one
Yeah.
in the bunch.
No, there was one that needed a paint job, I remember. Other than that, I mean, they were great.
job.
No, but
Yeah.
sometimes they're, they put vinyl siding on them or whatever.
Oh,
They're
no.
redone.
Oh.
So these are fairly
Yeah,
well
they
preserved.
were-
yeah.
Thankfully not.
Yeah.
You could see that they were completely appreciated. There was one little tiny side street that we had gone down. We were turning the block, and they had swags going from one house to the next with
Lighted garlands.
lighted garlands on them. It was, I mean, little teeny tiny
Yeah, it
street.
was like a horse path.
Oh, it was fabulous. So it was right up at the edge of the hill, and all those houses were just incredible. Some people had their front doors open so you could look inside.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god,
Little tiny stairways, and then there was some really huge,
yeah,
fancy
there's some grand
stairways.
staircases. Yeah, it was just incredible. So
Those are big architectural features, the entranceway stairs and
Oh, to
the
impress
whole
you.
front
Oh, yeah.
entrance, yeah.
yeah, some of them that we saw with the columns, the doors were double wide, which we have a lot of that in Portsmouth as
Yep.
well. But it's just, imagine pulling up to this house and just what a grand impression it would make. One of the dining rooms that we saw it was a house on the corner. It was like 1805. It was 1800 something. And the dining room on one side had 4 huge windows. It looked like it was the size of like 2 dining rooms. And it was just grand, like a ballroom.
Yep.
Stunning. I mean, just to
So
imagine.
the immense size of that room.
How could you not be impressed?
Of course, the house was giant too.
Oh, the house was huge.
My ex-house was like an 1870s house,
Mm-hmm.
and it had the original front doors with the original glass, and it was to the point where the glass settles after
Right.
time, and you could actually feel it and see it accumulating at the bottom, and you could see it rippling down because the glass is essentially fluid.
Right.
And it's like I'm raising my kids, and I'm going, oh God, we can't lose the glass. Just careful with those doors,
No barriers around.
Glass has survived everything,
Don't touch them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Portsmouth, it's great. If you go on Court Street in Portsmouth, there's a couple of houses where the glass is so old, all you just see is just waves
Yeah.
in the glass. It's so wavy. It's like an optical illusion. Everything behind it's all wavy.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Is that how it was made, or is that the settling? I
I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think the one house I'm thinking of in particular is also early 1800s as well, and just see, it's almost like in drips. It's
Yeah.
so old.
Because that's what it's doing. It's coming
Yeah.
to the bottom of the glass.
Yeah,
It's kind of flowing down there slowly.
It's all these little details of all of these houses is just amazing.
But you love being put in a position where you're on a street or you're in front of a building and you're hearing a story and being put in the position of feeling like you're there, feeling the same thing
yeah.
that, obviously you can't, but at least you get a little taste of it.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. It is very much, I mean, those streets like going back in time.
It definitely makes it easy to imagine being back then. I mean, some of the houses even had like the gas lanterns
Yeah.
with the
Oh, yeah.
flame out
Oh,
front.
I
like,
love those.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
incredible.
Or the flaming bulbs that they have now.
Or I picture one of the groups for historical groups in Newburyport popped up with a picture of troops marching off to the Spanish-American War on State Street. Mm-hmm. And you're watching these troops on State Street and you can recognize the
House is
buildings.
still there.
And it's like, it's like you could have been sitting at Anchor Pizza watching
Oh,
Right.
sure.
watching troops march off.
Oh, sure.
It's just like, it's incredible.
And they're still there.
Yep.
The other couple of quick stops we made yesterday was at the Witchcraft Trials Memorial in Salem, and we also went out to Proctor's Ledge, which was the site where they actually did the hangings
Yeah.
back in the day. And
I
we
haven't
had
actually figured that out.
we hadn't seen the memorial.
Yeah, that's pretty
until
new.
yesterday, and it's just, it's nicely done. It's just a little edge of the ledge out there in Salem.
So how many witches were executed?
Was it 19?
Yeah.
0.
Well,
Well,
They were all innocent.
yeah,
They were
I
witches.
know that. Yeah, that's true. Well,
how many
both
alleged
tried.
How many
alleged
convicted?
witches
Alleged
were?
witches,
Yeah.
There we go. Yes.
Yeah.
It was neat though yesterday because it was 50 degrees, and as we're walking through Salem, we could see some of the trees were actually budding, like the witch hazel was starting to pop out.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like no snow in Salem.
Oh God, no! It was. But when we were inside the Witchcraft Trial Memorial, there was a tree that was in there, and it's probably my overanalyzing things, but the tree was dripping water out of one of the knots.
Wow.
And
a constant drip.
I took video of it. It's on
Water or sap or?
I don't know. It was just that one little part of the tree, and then there was like one other little branch. You can notice where there was
So there were two,
a
yeah.
little water coming out. And I posted a video of that on my Instagram story, and it was kind of somber because you went from I think to the left of that was the memorial marker for George Burroughs, who I talk about a lot because he was up in Wells and they went and got him. And then right after the tree was another one. And then you had the tree. I kind of felt like it was crying.
Yeah.
It did seem that way. It was weeping
kinda,
for sure.
Yeah, it was kind of sad.
Yeah, right at the Charter Street Memorial.
Yeah.
Yeah, we on the seacoast got pretty well spared for snow to this
I
point.
know.
I don't want to
Yeah.
knock on wood here, but
it's
yeah.
gotta get through March.
It's not over yet, but
yeah.
No, it's not over yet.
Yeah.
But if you
But you don't have to go too far north or inland to see snow.
oh gosh, no,
No, not at
oh
all.
no, we I mean
Pepperell, for instance.
Pepperell was all snowy and
and
freezing.
then up into New Hampshire there.
Yeah, Hollis and that whole stretch. But if you want to see that video, you can go ahead and go to my Instagram story. And it's on my Instagram story. I have 25 seconds of video of that and
Of the
a few
weeping
pictures
tree.
of the weeping
Yes.
tree in the Witchcraft Trial Memorial. It's very, very surreal.
There's even an interpreter sitting out there.
Yep, there was.
In the dead of winter, there's an interpreter guy sitting at the memorial to talk to
it was
people.
a beautiful
yeah.
day, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there were all kinds of people flowing
But
through there.
imagine if it was 2 below, he probably still would have been out there.
Probably would
What language was he interpreting?
Oh no, he was just interpreting for
a historic
for the memorial.
interpreter.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, it's just,
Yeah,
okay.
historic interpreter.
Yeah. There's a job.
Oh God,
This is where the witches are buried.
I don't know.
Well, he seemed to be enjoying. He was just
Yeah.
sitting there having
Yeah.
cigarettes. People talk to him.
That was pretty amazing. So we start to draw to a close here for another episode of Wicked Curious, and thank you for everybody and all your commentary
Yes.
today, and particularly over this past week, I heard from a lot of listeners to the show individually. So feel
Excellent.
free to reach out with your ideas, your commentary, and your story again through our website, New England Curiosities, and of course, we remind you to always stay wicked curious. We'll talk to you next week.